I began with a thick MDF board for the floor and then added 4 poplar boards to form the frame of the Tardis, using construction adhesive to hold all the boards in place. Once they were good and secure, I placed 3 additional MDF boards, thinner than the floor, in between the poplar boards to form the walls. Finally, I used the same type of MDF as the floor to make the ceiling, securing it with screws and adhesive. Next, I secured 4 new boards to the top of the ceiling to add additional height to the walls, then 4 more boards to the inside of those so the Tardis's look could begin to take shape. Then, using some leftover boards, I created and secured 4 angled boards that would support the final roof. Then I added the 6 panes of plexiglass, attaching them to the interior wall with adhesive and industrial tape. With the glass in place, I could now install the carpet to cover the walls and floor. After that, I wanted to make the cat a bed and a scratching post to put in the Tardis. I began with a large post and wrapped it in corded rope for weeks, using industrial strength adhesive to glue it to one side, 20 minutes at a time, for it to dry. For the bed floor, I used MDF again and used 4 boards for the sides, one with an opening to get in and out with ease. I added a brace to the back that would connect to the wall, making sure it was extra safe. This would also let me run the wires of the light later. Finally, I secured the bed and post to the Tardis floor. Next up, I needed to add some detail to the exterior walls. Using 3 thinner bulletin boards for the walls, I cut out 8 squares on each, and on top of those, added some more strips of bulletin board for the trim. Let's start adding some more detail. First, I need 1 additional board on each side that will have the police box graphic. Then we can add the window frames out of the same MDF as the first walls. This will make sure it's the same thickness. Time to finally add the roof. Using MDF, I cut out the shape needed and used adhesive on the edges and braces from earlier to hold them in place. There are some gaps, but I filled them with the same adhesive and wood filler. I capped it all off with a block with a hole in it for the electronics to be used later. Now we can make this Tardis really official by adding the 3 graphics: the police box, the pull to open, and the St. John's ambulance. And the other accessories as well, like the hand-carved hinges, handles, and lock. What once was a solar light is now a Tardis lantern. The top half wasn't exactly big enough, so I had to cut off the top of a small water jug and fill the hole, and then I could glue it to the top. An LED flashlight was used for the light part, and lastly 4 dowel rods were used for added detail. Let me take a minute to explain the electronics for the light. First, I installed a cover strip to hide the wires by placing some aluminum foil on the top side of the bed floor and another piece on the underside of the bed panel. The light would come on whenever the cat laid down. I installed a battery board on the ceiling and connected the positive wire to the aluminum foil, then from the second aluminum foil to the positive input on the LED flashlight. As for the negative wire, it ran first to a switch, which then ran to the negative input on the flashlight, which would allow anyone to turn it off if they needed to. Lastly, it was time to paint. I used a spray glass froster on the plexiglass and spray painted the appropriate parts white as well as the frames. And of course, painted everything else that signature Tardis blue. Only thing left to do was to sew a small pet pillow and voila, the Tardis cat house.